Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of Open the Gate with your host, myself, Tommy Kaczor. I apologize for not posting for a while. I was on a hiatus. I went home for a couple weeks, had to go attend to a couple weddings here. But yeah, just with busy season in agriculture, I did find a guest that works in the agricultural field every day on a kind of different approach to your regular producer or anybody else that's really hands on in ag. Get a little different approach. I am lucky to be joined by a good friend of mine and an insurance guru, my good friend Aidan Hedstrom.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good episode. We're gonna keep it loose and just kind of talk a little bit. I know the topic isn't knocked off the rails fun for anybody, but we're gonna learn a couple things here. But
Love insurance.
first off, where are you based out of? Where's your business? Where do you call home?
Um, we're Neely, Nebraska. So we started. I'm O'Neill's originally where I'm from. It's about 45 minutes west of us. But my dad, it's where I grew up. He started the insurance industry about, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago. I worked for him for a few years, and then my now wife and I guess, we decided we wanted to go down to Florida and try that, and then we ended up back here, and we've been in Neely since December of 2024, and I've been doing insurance ever since then. So yeah, Neely is where we call home.
The Big Apple of the Midwest, they say as well.
Guess you could call it that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let's just get into just what's your daily routine with kind of your job. Say walk in on a Monday morning. Kind of the season we're in right now. Where a lot of guys are busy with stuff, and you still have to do things. You have people to uh, working under you that you have to give direction to. What's going on with you right now as far as day in day out stuff?
Yeah. So we right now kind of a lot of it, not related much towards the ag side of things, but more so my business. We're in kind of a growth phase, I guess you could say. We're trying to bring on new business, like Tommy said. That summer there's a lot of the farmers are kind of busy, so farmers, ranchers, but we do a lot of reviews, still reviewing with clients every year. Renewals come up, we review the coverages and whatnot. But in my day to day, I guess, is more so on the training side of the new people we've brought on the sales side. I've been blessed with two very good service people. One kind of doubles up as does a lot of my crop insurance, but they kind of handle the day to day when I'm out doing joint work with our new people. But a lot of it has been training, a lot of the training of the new people, and then we still do reviews, obviously, when we can find time for the farmers and ranchers. But a lot of it has been joint work and then reviews. A lot of life appointments right now, but.
Would you say that your busy season kind of falls more towards the end of the year, beginning of the year type of season?
End of the year, and beginning of the year. A lot of guys, obviously, when it comes tax season, I think they like to load that back into the end of the year. Some of them we do for some reason our busy time, and I don't know why, because it's kind of right when planning comes, but we are very busy in April. We have a lot of renewals. A lot of clients, a majority of our book of business is in the month of April. We also have our largest number of clients that renew in April for some reason. Like I said, I have no clue why. I guess, I don't know if they want to be busy, but they for some reason for us, they like to throw insurance into the month of April with everything else they got going on. But that would be that's probably our busiest month, March and April for sure.
Sure. So a little bit different than most would think. What
Yeah,
are
generally you would think it'd be December. In my mind, I'd think you'd say it'd be like, hey, we're kind of calming down. Let's hit October, November, December. Which, I mean, if we look at our stuff, I would say it's really not. We get into a lot of health insurance stuff, which I love. I know Sarah loves, which she doesn't actually love. She hates it, but I don't love it either. But most of our, for some reason, yeah, it does get pushed off into the front of the year, and even kind of midway through when they start hitting planting and everything. But no, you would think in my mind that it would be busier in the October, November, December months, but it's really not. So
yeah, what are the biggest would you say misunderstandings that people have about crop or farm insurance?
um, farm insurance. So I usually leave the crop stuff to Jamie. I guess I can't say I touch a lot of it, but she does quite a bit of the crop. I help her out when I can, but she's the brains kind of there. But on the farm insurance side, um, we're kind of getting into, I think, a weird, and I'll kind of step on eggshells, but a weird area of farming right now. I think we've had a couple of years where maybe the grain prices aren't where guy would like it to be, and so that it's kind of come down to, hey, where can we cut costs? Where can we make this work? Talking to a couple farm credit guys, they're talking, hey, we got a lot of these farmers. We got a year to figure this out. We got to make this work, and so they're looking on ways to cut costs. A lot of that comes in fertilizer bills, seed bills, also insurance too, like we're kind of talking. But the misunderstanding, I would say, is a lot of, and I'm not saying it's good or bad, but we've been giving up a lot of coverage and or increasing deductibles to kind of make that fit into the farmer and or the rancher's budget. And I would say that misunderstanding to me, which I get it, it's not my money, but uh, I don't necessarily like I don't necessarily like giving up coverage to save a buck, but like I said, in the industry or in the kind of the cycle we're in right now, it seems like we're kind of doing everything to try to save money and to make it work and to budget for the year. But yeah, that I don't necessarily know if that was a misunderstanding, but that's kind of what we're seeing a lot of right now, is just trying to make everything fit, for kind of the cycle we're in. That didn't really
No,
answer
yeah,
the question, Tom. I'm sorry.
that
Misunderstanding. I don't really know. I'd say
no, that
coverage is a misunderstanding, I think.
yeah, insurance is it's a kind of a gripe for most people because they don't
We got to
really
lighten this up a little bit.
they may pay for insurance for 10 years and never,
Never
use
get
it
paid out on
until
anything.
that 11th year.
Yeah.
So, it's a hard it's a hard thing, for somebody like yourself being a younger gentleman and having to talk to guys who, have worked with somebody previously who are maybe around their same age and then
Well,
you
and the other thing with that too is there's definitely been, especially in Nebraska, which I'm not. Tommy's known me for a long time. I'm not the guy that's going to sit there and read an article on the internet about statistics and whatnot. But my dad likes that stuff. He's been working with the same company that I have for, like I said, 15, 16 years. I don't know, but he he always likes to send me stuff on. I think Nebraska was the largest increase for homeowners insurance in the country. And that's with Florida and all the hurricanes and California and all the wildfires. Nebraska was the largest increase in homeowners insurance. Don't quote me on that because I could be lying, but I don't think I am.
quote and stamp on that.
Don't do that because I could be wrong. But it was definitely one of the largest states for homeowners increase. But there's been so much, especially in the insurance world, that's been disrupted by premiums, coverages. Cosmetic damage is a huge one. I know that's, if there's any farmers listening, that's a big one. Um, Cosmetic damage was a huge one back in, I want to say they kind of went away with it middle of 2025. Most companies allow you to buy it back, but you might as well just give away the farm with what they want for it. But there, you can buy that cosmetic back. But to back to my point of the disruption kind of in the insurance world is premiums have gone up, coverages have gone down, deductibles have gone up. So it's not so much, and I say the grain prices, but a lot of it has been, everybody in the ag industry, they're taking higher deductibles. I mean, we've got people that are taking, $50,000-$60,000 wind and hail deductibles on pivots, which is a big number now. But to save premium on, and so there is a big disruption, definitely in the insurance world where coverages have been dropped, premiums have gone up. Let alone you got your fertilizer bills going up, your seed bills are going up, and so they're not just in the grain market, but there has been a big disruption in the insurance world too. So that's been a big challenge for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of, the economy. Obviously, that's a big play into that because we know very much about that with the economy and all the pricing and stuff. Folks like me and writing those big checks. But
It's been
first
weird,
things
hasn't
first,
it? Sure.
with your job, you are a salesman, and just knowing you don't have any previous sales experience. So how do you kind of come into that? Did you naturally just feel comfortable doing that? Because it is a tough gig. Just talking to somebody new, going out there, putting yourself out there. Um, how is that? What has been your experience with that? Obviously, you can't win them all, and that's just you know pushing aside the different cost of different companies. Maybe you just didn't win it because maybe you were better, but maybe they just didn't like you. They thought you were kind of a schmug asshole or something. Who knows? But
It's a
what's
possibility. Yeah.
what's kind of a learning curve you've had with that whole deal?
Um, so well, and let's back up. Tommy and I've been friends a long time, so he gets to throw in a little jab like that. But there's kind of two sides to the, I guess, the insurance world, if you want to call it. There's retention side of things, and then there's the growth side of things. So retention and both sides kind of tie back to the same thing. What are you looking at?
There's a car on the road, and there's a tweaker been hanging around my house, so I'm just keeping my eyes peeled here. That's my bad.
Um, so there's two things that really retention, and then there's the growth side of things. They all kind of tie back to the same thing, and that's what I've learned is relationships. So especially for the guy that I took over, they had a guy that they had worked with for shit, I don't know. Al been here for 40 years. I don't know exactly, but he'd been here a really long time, and these people that had been working with him, same guy, day in, day out, knew how he liked to do things, knew how his clients like to do things. So when I came in, a lot of it came down to everything about relationships. You had to build those relationships. It was something as simple. What I love to do was, I also like to drink beer too. So, but take a case of beer out to one of your farmers, whether it's a new client, existing client, and, just chatting with them, building that relationship, because when it comes down to it, if you're someone they trust, you're someone that they like to work with, when premiums go sky high, they got to raise deductibles. When grain prices are in the shitter, they know they can come to you and that you guys can figure it out. So the one thing is existing business, which is 100% relationships, no matter Like I said, I don't care if, like I said, their cosmetic damage exclusion gets taken away. They got to raise deductibles $10,000 on their wind and hail. The main thing is have a relationship with them. The other part is the growth of things, which also it's the same thing. It comes back down to building a relationship with somebody, sitting down, explaining what they have, explain their coverages, say, hey, this is where we can save money. This is where we can save money without taking away your coverage. This is what we can do. This is the money we can save if we do take away some coverage. What is ACV as opposed to replacement costs, and how does that affect what you're going to get paid out? What does it mean when we go to a certain class on a building? Are we going to go class 1, class 2, or class 3? Is it named peril, special perils? So sitting there and actually having that conversation with the client, like I said, goes back to having a relationship with them. And then number 2, actually sitting down and explaining to them what it is that they have, what it is that their coverages are, what their deductibles are. So when that claim comes, they're taken care of, because it's in a weird spot as I think insurance and everything right now has come to, hey, how can I save $1? How can I find the cheapest thing? When in reality, I pay insurance myself. I don't pay insurance to find the cheapest thing. I pay insurance to get paid out on it. If something happens, I want to be paid. So if I don't understand what my coverages are, and I don't understand, what it is that I'm going to be paid, or if I do have something happen that I'm actually going to be covered on it, then there's no point in having insurance in the first place. That's just stupid, So I like I said, I think to kind of wrap everything up is the main thing is the relationships, especially for existing business and new business, is build the relationship, talk to the client, explain to them what they have, because I have found that majority of the time, when a client's sitting there and you're reviewing with them, or you're trying to sign new business and explaining stuff to them, they might shake their head like they understand, but they really don't. And they would appreciate if somebody just sat down and actually explained it to them. So that's my take on that whole deal.
Okay, well, we went the
You can tell
direction
me to
of
quit,
you.
stop rambling, Tom. You can tell me to quit rambling too, by the way.
No, this is very good obtaining information to the young minds we're molding here. Okay, so we're gonna switch gears. You're doing the pulling on the sleeve, saying, "Come to my team here." How do you guy comes in, or you get that notice from another company, and it says, this fellow's thinking of switching over to us. We're pulling on his sleeve this way. How do you keep your guy from hopping the fence, going to the greener grass, maybe a little cheaper,
Hey,
something
there's no
like
such
that? I
thing
know
as
you,
greener grass. No such thing as greener grass, Thomas.
but there's lighter checks, my friend, so that's what I'm
Did you not
kind
hear
of
what I just
wondering.
said? Lighter check doesn't always mean good. That's
I
not what that
get
always
quality,
means.
my good friend. I get quality, but I'm just saying sometimes, the grain prices are low and, we're thinking that we need to jump ship. And, the wife's not working anymore.
Yep.
She had that hip surgery and we got to cut back 10 grand and, get something else going somewhere else. And I've known Billy down the
Yep.
street and he's a good guy. And me and his old man go a long way back and he wants me to come do his insurance. How do you stay? You know what, Farmer Stan? Why don't you stay with me? You've been with me forever. I know Bill's a
Mhm.
good guy, but and his price may be a little better. But how do you say, you talk big on relationships? How do you pull back the other way and say, come back over here. We're all right.
Yeah, no, it's a, if I knew the answer to that question, yeah, I would keep every client I had. So you're never going to keep all of them. You never will. The main thing you hope to have is to make sure that you insure all your clients right, make sure they all feel equally treated, no matter the premium size, no matter if they're a headache to deal with, no matter if they're, how many claims they turn in, whatever the case may be. You want to make sure that they all feel treated the same. You want to make sure you take care of them. At the end of the day, and the worst part is I say, it's business. They run a business. If there's a premium that's better and their coverage is better, then if they walk out the door, you got to say, hey, thank you. I hope you have appreciated what we've done for you and our agency, but if it's better over there, keep me in mind for later. You know, you're never going to keep all of them, and that's something my dad told me early on. And because I would always get bogged down. I'd lose a client and be like, God damn it, this frickin' sucks. But I was going to use another different word, but this frickin' sucks. Losing business, nobody wants to lose business. But you hope that if you treated that client well, you serviced them well, you reviewed with them, they knew that you were there for them, and you knew that you were going to take care of them. If they go somewhere else, you hope they come back, and they will eventually. Like I said, if you do right by them, they will come back to you eventually. It's a tough pill to swallow right away, but sometimes there's nothing you can do, which was probably my toughest thing to accept when I first started, because sometimes there is nothing you can do. But I would say the best way to try to keep a client in I guess our times now where everything is the way it is I'll use a basketball quote from Zach Sybil. He said do your work early. He always told Adam Everett this. He said do your work early. Always talked about the post. Him and Adam had a separate thing going on. I don't know, whatever.
Shout out Adam Everett. Gotta love him.
Shout out Adam Everett. Yeah. Rev Everett. He always told him to do his work early. So, and I guess I always kind of translate that into the business side of things is make sure that you did everything you could before shit hits the fan to say, hey, I'm going to take care of you. We're going to sit down, we're going to review everything. You're going to have the coverages you need. We're going to be good to go on this deal. So when times do get tough and premium goes up and there's rate increases, that they come back and they say, okay, hey, he wasn't just worrying about me when shit was, he's not just worrying about me when shit's bad. He was taking care of me when stuff's good, when he didn't have to do a damn thing, didn't have to lift a finger. But letting them know that early on, that's your best bet. Picking up the phone when they call, answering back. Don't wait frickin' 48 hours to answer an email or a phone call or a text. So doing that stuff. Like I said, it sounds stupid, and if Zach were to ever watch this, which I hope he doesn't, if he were to watch this, he'll call me tomorrow and be like, "You're a dumbass." But I'll use that example is do your work early. Make sure they know that you appreciate them and that you're going to take care of them, and the rest will take care of itself. So
you're basically just throwing the word service in bold letters and saying that's what you kind of have to do in your job is service.
It's all service. It's a service. Insurance is a service-based industry. I'll throw Jesse Moore and Josh Brabeck into this deal. I guarantee you, if they said that one thing that they probably, keeps them afloat, yes, it is growth. It is. I mean, you want to grow, but there's two. Like I said, there's two parts to growth. There's retention, and then there's the actual growth, the distribution side of things. And retention is a huge part of that. And retention comes down to service, in my mind.
Really, really good stuff there. Merry-go-round, explanation there comes down to take care of people, and they'll enjoy, coming back to you and having no problem, maybe paying a little extra cheddar for your services.
Hopefully.
It's, insurance can kind of fall down to a once a year thing, comes to, I got to meet with the insurance guy November. And a guy's looking at his policy once a year, and he's got 3 things he doesn't even own on there anymore. How often would you say that a guy maybe needs to, it's not glorious, glamorous, something everybody loves to, talk about every day. But how often would you say somebody should maybe make sure to just, check in with you, or just look over their policy and make sure, everything's lined up? Every 3 months, what would your, piece of advice?
It's not overly glorious at all. Getting people in here is sometimes like pulling teeth a little bit, just because They are busy. I mean, they are busy, and there's a lot that goes into it. And like I said, they're dealing with their fertilizer guys, they're dealing with their seed guys, dealing with their insurance, they're dealing with their bankers. There's so much that really goes into the whole um, shebang, I guess if you want to call it. But there's so much that goes into it, and yeah, sometimes it is hard to get people in. Absolutely. I mean, we battle it, and there's a lot of times people say, "Hey, I'm good this year. We don't need to worry about it," which is a crock of shit because then the next year, they'll come in and it'll be, "Hey, I actually traded this, I traded that." Well, we've had a combine on there that you own that we haven't had insured for a year, so that's that's never happened with us, I should say, but you hear stories about that from other agents where it's like you do need to sit down and review with the clients every year because, and to answer your question, yearly. Some clients want it more. We do twice a year on some. Our bigger ones, I guess, the ones that bigger, that's probably the wrong terminology, but the ones that do a lot of acres, they got a lot of equipment. They got multiple employees and workers' comp policies and H2A employees. Those ones we talk to enough, and we have enough conversations with them that we know. Hey, he says, "Hey, by the way, I traded my combine." Well, that's probably a good bit of information to know. We probably should get that added, but we talk to them enough that we could probably still do yearly, and we chat enough through the year that we can get that stuff added that they do buy or they trade or they picked up a new piece of ground. So yearly is usually your default, I guess, if you want to call it that. But there's a lot of different scenarios and situations where we may take a transfer, whether that be anything, it don't matter. But let's say they transfer over to you. You may sit down and review with them because you better be dang sure you review with them after you take a transfer. Because I promise you don't want the phone call of, "Hey, something was wrong in my old policy. I just had a claim and now I'm shit out of luck." You don't really want that. So you might review with them then. And then when they come up for renewal, you might review with them then too. So you might get one where you review, twice a year, but majority of the time it's a yearly deal. And it's, I don't know. My baseline, like I said, my baseline's yearly, but if you talk to people enough throughout the year, like you should be, and you have enough touches with your clients, that's what they always call it. But you have enough. Stop laughing. You have enough touches with your
I'm not
clients.
laughing.
Have enough touches with your clients, you'll be able to dig in and get that information for sure.
Well, yeah, you make sure you want to cross check with Billy down the block because if he's checking in, come back to that bold word of servicing, that's my, yearly, you may need to pump those numbers up and, check in more often.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but another, hard thing is, uh, what is, okay, so insurance is a tough conversation to bring up with any Joe, So how do you
Mhm.
kind of work into that? Because obviously, it's a headache for most people, and it's not
It is.
something a guy wants to talk about when you pull in his driveway at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday and he's got, grease all over his hands and he's doing something with his baler. So how do you
Right.
come into that? What's your approach you've maybe had some success with, and stuff like that?
I usually come in at like 5:30, 6 o'clock after they're done doing what they're doing with a cold case of beer. That's my go-to. If it's anything, if it's anything new or existing, I'm like, yeah, I'll wait. I'll let you get your day done. Reviews, obviously, we schedule those during the day. But if it's anything where I'm like, this might be a hard conversation, I usually bring a 12-pack of cold beer and say, hey, we need to maybe chat about this a little bit. But that's there. It back to your question. There's no great way to do it. A lot of times, the ag industry, they know. I mean, they've had bad conversations before and tough conversations. You just do it. I mean, you go and you tell them what's going on. The one thing I have learned, which is very hard for me because, and hard for anybody, I think, but you never, it sucks ass to give somebody bad news. It's not fun. It sucks. But I think people appreciate that. I think people appreciate you being straightforward with them and upfront early on, as opposed to saying, "Hey, I'm going to let this thing play out and hope it ends up in my favor. And if it doesn't end up in my favor, well, throw our hands up and now we're screwed." The conversation sucks up front, but doing that, I think people appreciate, and I think they say, "Hey, I respect you more for coming out and let's just get this done. Let's get it squared away." Sucks, I might have to pay more money. I might have coverage lost, whatever the case may be. But being straightforward with somebody and going out there talking to them, you're always going to be better off. And yeah, like I said, bring a case of beer usually always makes it better.
That case of beer method probably is going to, play ball with about 95% of the guys. And then there's going to be one fella you do that with, and he's going to have about 30 years of AA chips in his overalls, and you're going to get burned on that one, bud.
You might want to do a little bit of research before, just make sure you don't know anybody that might struggle with that a little bit. But Tommy, we'll back up. We'll put a little pressure on Tommy here. Tommy used to sell a little bit of insurance. I don't know who for. Probably, I don't know, maybe the greatest agent or greatest boss in the world. But he's solo insurance, and I don't know, Tom. You were on the sales side. What would you say was the hardest part about doing all that?
It's obviously it's a tough conversation to bring up with I'd say anybody. Just because it's a slotted mind type of deal. You're not thinking about it a lot. Most guys are writing checks for a year, and they write it and they don't think about it anymore. We can just go back to a very good family member of mine who you would think that if we were doing a pretty good job for him, that, he'd help out one grandson and, toss him a bone in the business side.
Is that particular family member watching this?
Yeah, we'll see.
We spent a lot of time on this one, Thomas.
It did, and just you can't win them all, and so
grandson can't he can't get nothing.
You don't. No matter how many times you go out to grandma's, you can't win every battle. It doesn't matter. And those are situations you run into yourself where you're like, I think we can do pretty good on this guy. But this fella's, maybe hard-headed, engraved in stone, and he's just been with his guy. Maybe his guy doesn't even service that well, but he's known him since the early 80s, when, it was a different time, and he's just done it one way. His dad did it the same way. He does it the same way. What's the point in switching? And there's still a generation of that where I do something one way, why would I switch it now? What's the point type of deal?
I bet you can. I think that's what happened. You did something. You took too many cookies or knocked over grandma's vase or something, and we got nowhere, Thomas.
I think I was heading in the right direction until you tagged along the one day, and then my grandpa said, "Yeah, probably not going to do it. This kid's kind of a schmuck.
Get that guy off my property."
Okay, we'll kind of line out here, mellow down a little bit, wrap up with a couple of hard-nosed closing questions. We're talking about a lot of the negatives side of your jobs, and any job has very many, and then you got a few where the sun shines and you're having a good day. What would you say is kind of the most rewarding part of your job and the stuff you get to do every day?
Oof. Most rewarding part?
Yeah.
We're still talking about insurance, aren't we?
Yeah. So, this hard-hitting question here.
I don't know. Most rewarding part is it goes back to the same thing I was talking about before. Is I think you do build a relationship with people a lot of times, whether that's don't ever insure friends and family. I'm just gonna say that now. Don't ever do. Obviously, I got a lot of friends and family. They're usually the tougher ones to deal with because you don't want to disappoint them. But the most rewarding thing is, like I said, it's the relationships with people. You do a lot of times you do end up becoming friends with these people, and it it's one of those deals where, like I said, you build a relationship with them. You don't want to ever see it go wrong for them. It sucks sometimes, but at the end of the day, after you do kind of build that relationship with them, they do become friends. And I don't know, I've gotten a lot of friends out of the deal, I guess I would say. Especially when I moved to town, it was a great way for me to, I was 45 minutes away, but it wasn't, it's not that far, but it's still a different town, new town. And so it was definitely a way for me to meet new people, to get kind of acclimated to the community. And I have met a lot of friends, very close friends that I didn't know before at all. And now they're very good friends of mine to this day. So to this day, it was a year and a half ago. It hasn't been that long, but very good friends of mine today, if you want to say that.
They say it takes a village.
Yeah, I guess they say that.
Okay, let's just let's get this one going.
Are
What's
we
one
wrapping this
piece of
up already?
advice?
I got so much more knowledge to pour out.
Well, let's pump the skids here. Let's one brick at a time while we're building this house. Anyway, what's one piece of advice that you would give to someone thinking obviously maybe not taking your role, maybe taking a role of somebody that you would maybe um employ or start out in the industry. Say they didn't want to go to college, they're like, oh, I'm going to sell insurance. That's sunshine and rainbows every day. What would you tell them? Just kind of your seat in where you work in a very heavy based ag community. What piece of advice would you give them?
I feel like you're just throwing a jab at me. It's like dropped out of college, doing insurance. It's
No,
awesome.
I did not talk about your former knowledge or schooling at all.
Um, I uh, I don't know. I would say what one you got to be if we're talking about employing somebody on the insurance side in the ag. It's like Tommy said. We are a very ag centric uh, community. I mean everything west of Norfolk. There's we don't got Walmarts by any means, but it's very very rural, very community based. One, you got to be willing to jump in. I mean, if we're like I said, if we're looking at an employee, somebody that's going to do well in this industry, you got to be willing to jump in. It's definitely not easy, and nobody likes going and showing up to somebody's place and say, "Hey, can I quote your insurance?" It's actually the last thing anybody wants to do. It sucks, but um, you got to be willing to jump into it. You got to be willing to talk to people. Be personable. Find what people like. If somebody loves farming, go jump in the tractor with them and ride with them while they plant for a little bit. If somebody's a big cattle feeder, I don't know, jump in with them and I don't know, check bunks. I don't know, but you got to be willing to find whatever it is that person enjoys doing. If they like drinking beer, bring them a case of beer. You got to go out. You got to put yourself in those situations. It's usually not as scary as it seems. The drive out there where you're like, this sucks. I don't want to do this. This guy's probably going to tell me to get the hell off his property. It sucks, but most of the time you go in there, they're very nice. I mean, they understand. They understand how it goes. I don't if it's new business. Sometimes I don't even mention insurance. I don't even tell them what I do. I just go in, sit down. I have a beer with them. I talk to them. Learn a little about them. I leave, and by the time I come back the next time, they're like, "Hey, I didn't actually catch what you did," and I was like, "That's because I didn't tell you. I actually do insurance," and they start laughing. So the main thing is going out, put yourself in those positions. You got to be willing to throw yourself in and just run with it, because there's really no. I wouldn't say there's really any strategic way to be really successful at this, other than be personable, be somebody that somebody wants to talk to. Don't be an asshole, and everything will kind of work out. And you got to be hungry for it too. I mean, you got to want to do well, but other than that, there's probably not. I mean, that's kind of what it boils down to on the employee side of things. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that makes very good sense for the area you're based out of. And
What do you
let's
think,
close.
Thomas? What do you think goes into it? You did it for a while.
Um, obviously, you got to relate to somebody, and
Absolutely.
re- relating to somebody that does something different from the way maybe you grew up. Watching somebody do it is hard to maybe get into, hard to understand at first.
Yeah.
But it's all just about being personable, like you said. Maybe you don't even say what you do, but just being able to go out and just talk to somebody is a great skill to have if you're looking to
Absolutely.
probably get into the field that you work in. Obviously, is just being able to open a conversation. You don't even have to talk about, what do you do for insurance? You could talk about why he runs a certain kind of equipment. Why does he do
Yep.
this? Why do you run that certain type of cow? Or
Yep.
cow, Jesus Christ. Why do you feed this certain type of calf? Stuff like that. What do
Just sitting
you,
here
why, how
agreeing with
long,
you.
what's that, bud?
I said I was just sitting here agreeing with you. I'm shaking my head like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Listening to what you're saying.
What is, how do you set yourself apart from other producers?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Just,
Well,
I mean,
and
obviously, some guys are going to be a little timid, obviously, if they don't know who you are. And it's obviously going to be harder for um, younger people in the industry as opposed to maybe an older gentleman stepping out there. I'm not saying, the guy's walking out there with a walker, but anybody that sees, somebody pretty green to the industry,
yeah,
like Aiden or myself, they may be a little hesitant. This kid, I've got kids older than this kid. Why am I going to waste 30 minutes talking to this guy?
yeah.
So you got to be able to obviously come out with a good conversation, and that's what I feel is the biggest thing.
And the
And
hardest part is getting out there. It really is. I mean, the hardest part is actually going to the place and saying, "Hey, I'm actually going to go out here and I'm going to do it." I'm going to go out and I'm going to talk to this person, somebody you don't know. From what I've found, there's not a lot of people that are assholes. I mean, honestly, everybody loves going out there. You sit there, ask somebody questions, they answer it. People like talking about themselves. I mean, that's just they like talking about what they do. They're proud of it. That a lot of times it's great grandpa passed it down to grandpa. Grandpa passed it down to dad, and now there's a grandson farming. So they're very proud of where they've come from. They're very proud that they've kept this ground in the family for so long. They're fourth generation farmers and cattle feeders, or maybe they're cow calf operation, whatever the case may be. They're very proud of what they do. If you go out there and you ask them and you're interested in what they're doing, because I'm always interested. I'm interested to see how people started where they went, and how they've gotten where they are. If you go out there and you just have a conversation with people, most of the time, like I said, you don't find very many people that say, "Hey, get off my property, or I'm going to kick your ass."
yeah, that's a great point. And let's close it out with is there anything I didn't ask you about that you think people should know about the industry
About the insurance
that we
industry.
maybe
Yeah.
didn't discuss?
Hmm?
What's that?
I
What'd you
said
say?
did you say the insurance industry or the ag industry?
Well, obviously, buddy, you're not running a combine yourself, so I'd have to fall under the insurance category.
You're an asshole. The I would say it actually relates to both the insurance industry and or the ag industry is not one size fits all. That's a one thing that I've learned about. I was like, I thought if I came in here and I got really good at one thing, I'd be like, yeah, I could talk to everybody and they'll all relate to what I'm saying. It's not like that at all. I mean, there's so many different things that people do, whether it's custom farming, custom application, they're custom feeding, whether they own their own cattle, whether they're cow calf pair, whether they're just row crop. I mean, there's so many different things that people do that kind of encompasses the ag world or the insurance world. Because in our line of work, all we're trying to do, whether you're big, small, is limit liability and make sure that you're covered properly. So my main thing, or not advice or anything, but the main thing would be is not one size fits all on anything, because the industry, both industries are ever changing. There's a thousand different ways to, what do they say? 1,000 different ways to skin a cat. I don't know, Tom. What do they say?
That's what I was just about to say.
But there's a ton of different ways that people make a living or in ag, and or insurance. There's commercial insurance. There's 1,000 different types of insurance that people specialize in, but there's not one size fits all, and you can always learn. You're going to learn every day, and then just be open to it, be ready to learn, and go from there.
Well, that was a great discussion, Aidan. I appreciate you sharing all that wisdom with us here. I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up with there. What?
I said it only took us 2 hours to get started because my computer wasn't compatible.
That's all right. It's not it's not the destination, it's the journey, my good friend. But that's going to be all here, folks, for this edition of Who Left the Gate Open. We'll see you all in the next one.
Thank you.